Your Daily 180, 180 seconds of pure Bible study.
Is there a prohibition against beverage alcohol for the Christian? Welcome to this Your Daily 180 Bible study. There's a very important principle that we need to consider regarding beverage alcohol for the Christian. One of the things that we see when we look at 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 5 and 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 9 is that today every child of God is a priest. Now it wasn't that way under the old law. You had the sons of Aaron who served as the priest. But I want you to understand today that every child of God is a priest. And as a matter of fact, we're told in 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 5 that we are to offer up spiritual sacrifices. Now, how do we know anything about priests? We look at the priesthood principles that we find in the Old Testament. And in Leviticus chapter 10, I want you to hear what the instructions that were given to Aaron about priests. In verse number 9, we read this. He says, "Do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of meeting, lest you die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that you may distinguish between holy and unholy, between unclean and clean." What's he saying here? He's saying, when you become intoxicated, you can't really serve God properly because you can't make the proper distinction between what's holy and unholy, between what's clean and unclean. And our service to God is so important that we must always have a clear mind as we serve Him. Now that was a principle under the old law, and today we see that all Christians are priests, and we have a responsibility to offer up spiritual sacrifices. Now, is it less important for us today to have a clear mind? Oh, by no means. We must have a clear mind. We must be able to distinguish between what's right and what's wrong, what's wise and unwise. And so, as we think about that, let's think about this with regard to spiritual sacrifices. In Romans chapter 12 and verse number 1, our brother Paul would say, "I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service." Think about that for a minute. Is someone who is intoxicated, is that person presenting their body as a living sacrifice? No. You see, you can't fulfill your duty as a priest before God if you're going to partake of beverage alcohol for social and recreational purposes. Join us again tomorrow.